Welcome to the Loyal Opposition Podcast, episode number 13. I'm Berneyflowers, one of Uncle Sam's wayward children. I believe that our country's best days are still in front of us, but those best days, if they are to come, we need to change the direction of the country right now before it's too late. I intend to talk about important issues every week in hopes of helping to improve our country and our way of life. This week, our guest is author Terri Hasdorff. Now, let's get started. Author Terri Hasdorff is a former congressional candidate and an executive-level leader with over 20 years of experience working at the intersection of faith and politics. She began her career in 1991 in what is now called the White House Office of Public Engagements, working with faith leaders and nonprofit organizations from across the country. She then served on Capitol Hill for more than 6 years before returning home to Alabama to help empower grassroots and faith-based organizations with state and federal government resources. In 2020, she ran for a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives to represent Alabama's 2nd Congressional District. Terri holds a bachelor's degree from Samford University. She also graduated the Senior Executives Program at Harvard University's John F. Kennedy School of Government. She is currently completing a master's degree in business administration at Oxford University. Terri, how are you?
I'm doing great, Bernie. It's good to be with you.
I am so proud to have you here on our program. I have a few questions for you, and I want to go ahead and ask them now since you're a very busy lady. So first, how does an average citizen make a difference in politics?
Well, that is really what the whole focus of this book is about. I think there's a lot of mystery around that sometimes for people who are not political. And one of the biggest things that people just need to understand is that even if it's just one person, if they're passionate enough and they get involved and really, know where to make a difference, they can have huge impact. And that's what makes America so incredible, is that we do have the ability to get involved in our government and make a difference. And in so many other places around the globe, they don't have that. So it's something to be treasured and treated with great respect.
Outstanding. Next question. How does an average citizen give monetarily in the most effective way?
So, I almost titled this book Less Than 1%. Because that's the percentage of Americans who gave to political campaigns in the 2016 election cycle. Now, when you're a candidate and you're running for office, it's almost like starting up a new business. Unless you have run before and you have quite a following behind you, or you're independently wealthy, if you're a first-time candidate, it's very hard to raise money quickly, and you're under a very tight timeline. A lot of people that are willing to sometimes give money to candidates may have strings attached to that money. So with expectations and, special interest groups and things like that. So if you are running for office and you're honest and you're trying to do this the right way, you've got to have support. And that's one of the biggest things that people can do to make a difference. To go back to your first question, one of the biggest things that you can do to help make a difference is give of your time, give of your influence, and give from your wallet. But you have to know how to give in the right way. And that's one of the things that I talk about quite a bit in the book. But ultimately, one of the first things to remember is to give directly to a candidate's campaign. Look for, something on their website that says, paid for by, John Doe for Congress. And that lets you know that you're there at their direct site, and give directly to the campaign, and then give to other types of opportunities like a PAC or something like that. But you have to know what to look for and the right questions to ask.
Outstanding. Next question. Corruption and apathy towards our government have become acceptable in this country. How do we combat these concepts?
So, Bernie, when I wrote this book, the reason why I named it Running into the Fire is because I talked to a friend of mine who had also run for Congress about the same time that I did. And I asked him, why do you believe Christians shy away from being involved in politics? And he said, because they think of it as being dirty and corrupt, and they're afraid of it. And I said, yep, that's what I hear over and over. He said, but what they really need to be doing is thinking of it more like people who are in law enforcement or people who are firefighters, because they're trained to overcome their fears. And instead of running away from the burning building, they run right into it. And I thought, that's it. As Christians, we're called to walk in faith, not fear. 67% of Americans identify as Christians, and yet 41% of evangelical Christians are not even registered to vote.
Wow.
So that kind of disengagement is what has led to a lot of people filling that void. And many times they might not be people that share our values and our views. So the only way to change that is for a greater degree of political engagement to be put forward by the body of Christ. And that's why this book was specifically targeted towards Christians, because that is the majority of Americans. If 67% of any, demographic wants something bad enough, they are able to often make a big change. And if we had even a 10% increase or 20% increase in political engagement from that demographic, I think you would start to see a huge difference.
Outstanding. That is something. You answered my next two questions. That is awesome. I was going to ask you, how can we can overcome that? But, if you want to elaborate further, I will stand out of the way.
Sure. Well, I think one of the biggest things that people can do is start to really do their homework on candidates. You need to vote. You need to vote every time. That means in the primaries as well as the general. In a lot of states, the primary is the election. It's pretty much over once that primary is decided. And so that's a really critical time to get involved. And yet there's an even lower percentage of people that vote in primaries than vote in the general. So that's one place to start right there, is do your homework, treat it like a job interview, get to know those candidates. Don't treat it like ordering food off a fast food menu. Really take it seriously. Spend some time talking to people that follow politics in your state or county, and get to know the differences of the candidates. Once you've prayed about it and you know who you want to get behind, then really take the time and energy to not only spend your time and influence to try and help get behind them, but give financially and make sure you vote for them.
Outstanding. Terri, I'm going to ask you one last question.
Sure.
All right. What should a person know before they run for political office?
Well, if they're a Christian, they should know that God's calling them to run. And, it's a matter of timing a lot of times too. You may know that God's calling you to be in the political arena, to serve on the mountain of government. But, if I felt called to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro, I'm not going to go do it tomorrow. I'm going to figure out what I need to do to get trained properly so that I don't get up there and have problems. And that's exactly the same thing that you have to do when you feel like God's calling you into the arena of politics. You need to pray. You need to make sure you're getting some training, or you are around others who are seasoned. And you also want to make sure that you've got the right kind of support in place. Because it's something to be taken seriously. It's something that you need to be called to it. So it's not just self-serving, but if you are called, you also need to be trained and supported.
Terri, that's the end of my questions. I am just so impressed with you. And I want to flash the book in front. I'm about halfway through with it, and I'm fascinated. And I'm looking forward to being able to finish it. And I'm just proud to have you as a guest. So unless you have any other questions, or better yet, any other things you'd like to say, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much, Bernie. It's an honor to get to know you and to be on your show. And I just thank your listeners for taking time to listen today. If you would like to have more information, please go to my website, godovergovernment.com. I'd love for folks to sign up for the newsletter that I've got there. I've got some exciting things I'm working on with a team that I've connected with, and we're going to have some things to announce soon. So you don't want to miss out on that. Go to the website, godovergovernment.com, and sign up. Thanks so much.
Author Terri Hasdorff, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernie.
This has been the Loyal Opposition Podcast, produced in association with Liberty Arise Media and other podcasters. I ask that you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast and to this channel. Be sure to get your copy of my new book, Black Values Matter, available on Amazon or as an ebook on Audible and Apple Books. And remember, it's okay to disagree, But if we want our country to prosper, we must insist on unity, transparency, and civility from ourselves and our fellow citizens. Thanks for listening to the Loyal Opposition Podcast. See you next week.